The Rams make a surprising move on the defensive side of the ball, and how this impacts who the Rams will look to add for the rest of this offseason and the 2025 defense as a whole. All that and more on this episode of Rams Digest, and welcome back to another episode of Rams Digest. I'm your host, Joshua Finehirsh, and before we get into it today, make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell so you do not miss any daily new Rams Digest videos covering all things Rams. And turn that notification bell to all so that you make sure you are notified. Sometimes YouTube is a bit weird with the notification button, so make sure you are set to all on those so you do not miss any new Rams Digest videos coming at you with the latest Rams news. Now to our main story of today. The Rams surprisingly released cornerback Darion Kendrick last night, and we're going to get into what exactly this means for his future, the Rams' future, and some potential new cornerbacks to replace him. All that and more right now. Our first story coming from Rams Wire. The Los Angeles Rams are trimming their roster in advance of mandatory minicamp. On Friday, the team announced it has waived cornerback Darion Kendrick. Kendrick started 18 games for the Rams from 22 to 23. After being a 6th-round pick in the 2022 draft, he played in 32 total games before tearing his ACL last summer during training camp, causing him to miss the entire 2024 campaign. Yeah, that definitely sucks for Darion Kendrick, that it does feel like that he's kind of been cut because of an injury where he didn't really get to prove himself last year, where the main thing that I talked about in a video before was 4 players who could get cut after this video. Make sure to go watch it. And Darion Kendrick was in that video, and I posed the question to you, the audience, whether the team, if they do make a cut by adding a new corner, if they should cut Darion Kendrick or Emmanuel Forbes. A lot of you said Forbes. I agreed that it should have been Forbes just based on his lack of familiarity with the defensive system, but it seems like Forbes has played well enough throughout OTAs to be able to keep that job for right now, and Darion Kendrick is out the door. Kendrick, decent Rams career for 2 seasons, 3, although he was injured for last season. Definitely sucks for him right now being cut. And for Kendrick, where do you think he'll land? Comment that down below. Again, I'm going to keep saying the Bengals. They just need any defensive help they can get. The Commanders as well could be a decent landing spot for him as well. So comment that down below where you think he ends up this offseason. During his time with the Rams, he picked off 1 pass, had 14 total pass breakups, and 92 tackles, 3 of which went for a loss. He'll now hit the waiver wire and can be claimed by any team in the NFL. If he goes unclaimed, he'll become a free agent. This is important to note that when you waive somebody, they are on waivers, meaning that a team can come in and say, hey, we like this player, we'll take him. Meaning that it's not like a free agent contract. They were more picked up off of waivers. They're still under contract. They still have to sign a new deal, but they still also have to make that roster, and it is a bit of a different process than being signed as a free agent. So we will see if Kendrick does, in fact, clear waivers, which will be interesting because he is coming off of a major injury. He's still young. He'll only be 25 when this upcoming season starts, so it's not like you're in an age where an ACL tear really devastates you, although those types of injuries, you just never know how any player comes back from those, so we wish nothing but the best for Kendrick on the health side there. By waiving Kendrick, the Rams actually create a good amount of cap space. This move saves the Rams $3.4 million in cap room this year, which now brings their available spending money to around $22 million according to Over the Cap. And that is the key that we're going to get into later on in this video. Why the Rams actually did cut Darion Kendrick. And it is a salary cap move, and we don't know exactly why that is. Now, saving that money in salary cap is definitely quite important, having $22 million to spend on this year, because there's some corners available in the market that we've heard the Rams being linked to on and off. Nothing confirmed yet, but there are some big names available, some names that you go and are like, yeah, that guy really elevates the cornerback room, whereas Darion Kendrick hadn't really shown that ability. And I'm going to comment down below right now as well. Do you believe this was the right decision, cutting Darion Kendrick? They did save $3.4 million in cap space, just to keep in mind before you comment that, your opinion. They did save that money, and now they have more money to go after some other cornerbacks, which we're about to get into here. And if they needed to cut a corner at all, who do you believe that should have been instead of Kendrick? If you disagree, I want to know right now. And like this video as well for some semi-breaking news, because we finally have some relevant news to talk about on this channel that's happening right now. It's not really rumor-based anymore for the content, at least for today and yesterday. We have some new signings, some new cuts, and we're really getting close to the NFL season right now. Finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel of the long NFL offseason. And now we have a follow-up story here from Ramblin' Fan really going over the roster implications of this cut and some of the names that the Rams may look to go after for the rest of this free agency period. When it comes to the Los Angeles Rams, the team has had plenty of questions regarding the team's offseason strategy so far. It's not unusual, as the concern of fans often does not align with the strategy of the team's front office and coaching staff. Even when the concerns and perceived roster needs do align, there is the additional dimension of the timeline. Yes, this is something else to note, that some Rams fans have said that the Rams haven't gone all in enough to try to win this, Super Bowl that's coming up for the end of the season, but I happen to disagree with this. I like the Rams' approach. Again, the Rams didn't need to go into this offseason spending every single dime of their cap space, and by the time the season starts, even if they add another corner or not, I do believe that whole cap space won't be taken. They'll still probably have around $4, $5, $6 million left of that cap space, regardless of who they add, so they'll be able to bring in salary on a trade, which is very, very important. Because the Rams right now have the two-timeline approach. They have Stafford and Adams, but at the same time, you have Nacua, Kyren Williams, Jared Verse, all these great players who need to get paid because you've seen them perform on the field. You've seen that they can really make an impact for your future. So I do actually like the Rams' approach throughout this offseason. For fans, sooner is better. For parties who work on the challenges of roster building, sometimes a slower and steadier hand is desired. After all, why rush into contractual obligations that may be regrettable in 6 months? Yeah, we've definitely seen this all throughout sports. Some teams that give out contracts to players who you thought are going to be good, who deserved these contracts at the time because you've seen them play well, but then unfortunate injuries happen or they fall off a cliff a little bit earlier than you expected, and you truly never know who that's going to be and what these players that you sign are going to do for your roster, or if they just don't fit with the team at all scheme-wise. So it is important to take that time, really learn and evaluate each player that you're going to go into the season with to really make sure they fit, especially in the NFL, because you have to juggle 53 active players plus the practice squad, and you need to make sure everyone fits and everyone is on that same page, same wavelength heading into the season. While the Rams have been the subject of numerous NFL rumors suggesting that this team is ripe to trade with the Miami Dolphins for cornerback Jalen Ramsey, the team has been going in the other direction in terms of adding talent to the team's secondary. In March 2025, the team parted ways with another cornerback, Trey Tomlinson, a defensive back drafted in 2023. Now the team released another cornerback, this time Darion Kendrick. That is important to note as well, that the team did recently release another cornerback in Trey Tomlinson, although that move was kind of more corresponding to re-signing Ahkello Witherspoon. So that was kind of just a one-for-one where Trey Tomlinson hadn't really done much throughout his NFL career, wish him nothing but the best, but he hadn't really proven much with the Rams, while Ahkello Witherspoon has proven to be a good player for the Rams system, and at the very least someone who can go on the field and make plays when asked. Is he elite? No, but he's definitely someone who you'll like on your roster as a CB2, CB3, whereas Trey Tomlinson hadn't really done too much. And now with Darion Kendrick, it's kind of the same thing. He'd been fine, but there was nothing really about him where you look at him and go like, yeah, this is a guy who can make big plays in the playoffs, because we haven't really seen enough of him to do that. We'll see if he turns into that on another team. Again, wishing Kendrick nothing but the best. Kendrick was once a significant contributor to this Rams defense. Even as he sat out all of 2024 with an ACL injury, Kendrick appeared in 32 games in 22 and 23, starting in 18 for the Rams in his first 2 seasons. While his performance on the football field was a bit erratic, in 2023, he put up 49 tackles, 3 tackles for a loss, came down with a pick, 10 passes defensed, and allowed just 57.1% of passes thrown his way to find their target. But after the team struggled with trying to restore veteran Trey White after serious injuries in 2024, the team has since released both cornerbacks vying to return from injuries in 2025. And that's another important note too. A lot of teams and a lot of people in general don't like to make or have the chance of making a same mistake, because when Trey White was first signed in 2024, I had my questions as a Rams fan, because we know what prime Trey White was in 2020, 2021, that era with the Bills. We know how great he was. But coming off of multiple serious injuries, he wasn't that player, anywhere close to that player for the Rams. They ended up cutting him, and it was actually for the better. Whereas for the Rams, you don't want to have that same mistake where you need to nurse a guy coming back from injury and you need to make sure after every play they're okay, their confidence is there. And for this, I agree with the reasoning. If this is part of the reasoning, both of these corners were vying to come back from injuries, really not for sure about where their standing is on the roster. Cutting them makes the most sense, especially saving that cap space like we talked about earlier. Why is the team parting ways with cornerbacks at a time when the team is looking to improve in the secondary? Well, believe it or not, the Rams are loaded with cornerbacks in quantity. I examined the Rams depth chart, and as the team released Trey Tomlinson and discovered that this team is bursting with cornerbacks, you could find the Rams cornerback roster below, updated with the latest news. That will be shown right now. Yeah, we got Kobe Durant, Emmanuel Forbes, claimed off of waivers last year. Kendrick's now cut. Josh Wallace, Darius Williams, Sean Jolly, Cam Lampkin, Charles Woods, AJ Green, and Ahkello Witherspoon. And that right there, you got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 corners on the roster currently for the Rams, meaning not all these guys can make the roster. You're probably keeping around 5 or 6 cornerbacks on the roster, so you have some cuts to do. You know Kobe Durant's going to be safe. You know Darius Williams is safe. You know Ahkello Witherspoon is safe. And then we'll see who the other bench players are. Josh Wallace was on the team last year, so he has a pretty good chance of making it. Emmanuel Forbes seems like he's been good in OTA. Same thing with Cam Lampkin. And it seems like they're high on Sean Jolly. I've heard a lot of reports on that as well. So we will see on that. Comment down below. Who do you think, based off of this group, should make this roster? Again, Kobe Durant, Darius Williams, and Ahkello Witherspoon are definitely safe. So besides that, who do you want on this roster? Comment that down below. And before venturing off into some speculation about other names, let's pause a moment to investigate how the Rams' depth chart looks in the secondary right now. At the left side, you got Darius Williams, Kobe Durant, and Cam Lampkin. You got Cameron Curl, Jalen McCullough, and Malik Dixon-Williams at strong safety. And then you got Kitchens, Tanner Ingle, and Nate Falacrell at free safety. Nickelback and slot, you got Quentin Lake, Josh Wallace, Charles Woods, Sean Jolly. And right cornerback, you got Ahkello Witherspoon, Emmanuel Forbes, and AJ Green. So definitely a bit crowded right now, especially at the nickelback and slot position. One of Charles Woods or Sean Jolly is going to be cut. One of AJ Green and Cam Lampkin's probably going to be cut as well. We'll see if one of those safeties are cut. Again, the star for the safeties, they're interchangeable: free safety, strong safety. So it's definitely a bit crowded right now, and that is definitely why Kobe Durant was cut. From the above presentation, the Rams have plenty of bodies to man the secondary, but what about quality? Who among the Rams' defensive backs can provide the blanket coverage necessary to stop effective offenses? As much as the Rams' pass coverage seemed to congeal as the 2024 season progressed, the team is wise to show interest in trading for veteran quarterback Jalen Ramsey. With Ramsey on the board, the team has multiple options for how to present pass coverages, including sliding Ramsey into the slot and returning Quentin Lake to a safety role, which would be interesting as well, meaning another one of those safeties would be on the chopping block as well. And that provides Chris Shula with so much more capabilities to design some trick plays and confuse those offenses, because he's been so good at doing that already in just his first year as D coordinator. Training for Ramsey even adds more into that as well. I don't have to advise anyone to look for the Rams to make more roster moves, as social media is already abuzz in anticipation of news that the Rams have reached an agreement to trade for Jalen Ramsey. While the trade remains uncertain, one thing is now a fact. The Rams have just created any more of a reason to do so, and they created more reasons to do so there. Yeah, definitely correct. Now that they did cut Kendrick, they saved more cap space to take on a bigger contract in Ramsey, so there is more of a likelihood that that can happen. And potentially freeing up some cap space as well to sign Jaire Alexander off the market. But Sean McVay actually had some words about the potential of signing Jaire Alexander a couple days ago from the last day of OTAs. We haven't had a lot of these discussions, stated McVay. There are so many layers to the Jalen conversation. Obviously, with cornerback Jaire Alexander, a lot of respect for him as a player. Haven't talked about those types of things. Our main focus is this will really represent our last OTA day, so we've kind of just been focused on our group. General Manager Les Snead and I have had some dialogue and discussions as it relates to the Jalen thing, but there's really no news to report on. And with Jaire, nothing but respect for the player, but I don't know if that's a direction we would go. And that's definitely a very interesting note there from McVay, not being so sure about Jaire. Again, with the injury thing, he's coming off of multiple injuries as well, just like Darion Kendrick, whereas Jalen Ramsey is coming off of a healthier season. He's been a healthier player throughout his career. He has familiarity with the defense. So based off of this, it looks like a Ramsey trade is more likely. But comment down below right now. Do you believe that Derion Kendrick is the impetus for a Jalen Ramsey trade or a Jair Alexander signing? Or it's just because he was coming off of an injury and the Rams are going to stick with who they have? And like this video as well. Some spicy offseason rumors. We're finally getting that. We're getting close to the NFL training camp season underway. And that is all for this episode of Rams Digest. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that bell so you do not miss any daily new Rams Digest videos covering all things Rams. And comment down below, do you agree with this decision of cutting Derion Kendrick? And do you believe this is the impetus of the Rams adding another corner? Or it was just to save cap to take on salary in the season? Or because he was coming off of an injury? Like this video if you haven't already. I've been your host, Joshua Finehirsh. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Rams Digest, and I'll see you soon for another one. Have a great rest of your day.